Yeah, we all need them. We we all need them. We all need some strategies for a living. We really do. And so, are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I'm ready. I feel good.
Yeah,
I feel really good about today.
All right, good deal. Hey, folks, welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for a Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He's Jimmie Bryant, PhD. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs this little thing we call Strategies for a Living, which is all about helping us live healthier and happier and more peaceful lives. Body, mind, spirit, relationship.
Yeah. What you got on the menu for today?
Well, okay. See, I think you've lived long enough to for me to ask you this question.
Okay.
How quick does it feel like to you a decade passes?
I mean, faster and faster.
Yeah,
Date.
I sometimes I get confused about how old I am. I'm 66. I'll be 67 in November. I guess since we're getting closer to November, I get confused. Am I 66 or am I 67? Well, I'm 66 plus,
Yeah.
But my point is in the more years that have ticked by, it seems to me decades pass pretty doggone quick. And so
Yeah.
I want to talk this evening about life choices that you may want to be aware of that you'll regret in a decade, 10 short years, and maybe even sooner if you're not careful. And so, what are two words that can be the most sad in the English language when you put them together? If only.
If only. Ooh,
If
yes.
only. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about some things that you may want to consider now so that you won't if only later. How about that? That's kind of what's on the menu this
I'm
evening.
into it. I love this. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to a little insight personally.
Okay. All right, folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning into Strategies for a Living. And we're brought to you by the Robinson Film Center. We're brought to you by Azalea Cleaners. We're brought to you by Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
We're brought to you by Learning Rx. We're brought to you by Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport. And we're brought to you by the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment, we're going to talk about some life choices that you just might regret in a decade. We want to keep you, all of us, we want to keep us away from the if only. That's this evening here on Strategies. Stay with us.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning Rx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning Rx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning Rx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning Rx Shreveport.
If only, those words, those two words, when you put them together, can create maybe at least one of the saddest, maybe the saddest phrase in the English language. You know, if only. You know, I think we tend to regret, when all is said and done, we tend to regret more of the small things, the small chances that we didn't take. When we look back on them, we say, that was a priceless opportunity. Maybe that we were too busy to stop and nurture. And you know, maybe also the good decisions that we ended up making, but we took a while. In fact, we look back and we say, I took too long. You know, so let's talk this evening about some pretty common life choices that ultimately may lead to that if only, you know, because we want to avoid you a decade from now, you don't want to be if only.
No,
you know,
no, I think you said in the first segment, it's painful. That's a painful feeling and a painful phrase to have to say to yourself.
Yeah. So I think it's important for us to be aware, to be conscious of some of those choices, and some of these may surprise you. The first one may surprise some people.
Okay.
The very first one is letting other people tell you what you're worth. You know, we tend to forget this. We tend to forget that most people are going to be evaluating us, even judging us, based on their own experiences, their own life experiences, that don't have one dadgum thing to do with us. Right?
That's right.
So I'll give you an example. A person might assume, there's that word, that assume word again, might assume things about you based on maybe a troubled past experience they had with somebody else that looked somewhat like you, or
some kind of similarity.
There was a similar relationship to the relationship that you find yourself in now. And so if you base any part of your self-worth on what they think, you know where that puts you?
Where?
Limbo. Limbo. It puts you in limbo. There's a good Catholic word for you. We'll unpack that in a second.
I mean, that word, you know, depending on who you ask, is just as scary as or painful as if only.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget, you know, sitting in my first grade classroom, and I guess that was the first time that I heard of the concept of limbo, right? Being taught by Sister Mercedes at Christ the King School. And you know, they were teaching us about baptism, right? Okay. So a child has to be baptized to you know, to go to heaven and be with God. And Sister said, well, now, if a baby dies before it can be baptized, it doesn't go to hell because it hasn't committed any sins, but it goes to limbo.
Right.
And limbo she just said, was a place like heaven, but God's not there. And I can remember the equivalent of sitting there in my little chair thinking, that doesn't make sense, sister. Turns out limbo is really an old nun's tale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's not really an official. I tell you where limbo came from. And the word, it'll make sense when I tell you what it means. Limbo means margin. It means in the margin. And where it came from was, back when the church in the, before there was a lot of governments like we have today across the world, the church was a main record keeper for communities and families, right?
Right.
And where was it kept? The records were kept in the church. A record starts with a baptismal certificate, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so when a child would be born to a couple and would pass away, as infant mortality took place a lot,
Was much higher
much
as
higher.
we go back. Yeah.
The parents would want that baby noted in their family history, but there was no place to note it because the record really starts with baptism. And if the child wasn't baptized, where do you write it? Well, what they did was they wrote it in the margin of the parent's baptismal certificate. They wrote it in limbo.
Wow.
And so that then took on a life of its own, and it became known as, well, limbo is a place, not exactly it's an old nun's tale. So, I mean, you need to, if you don't want to place yourself in limbo, but if you're basing any part of your self-worth on what somebody else thinks, that's where you're putting yourself. You're putting yourself in limbo. So, if someone sees us as we truly are and responds to us in an affirming manner, a positive manner, then we feel good about ourselves. But if they don't, we feel bad about ourselves. Okay, we've got ourselves in limbo. So be very careful of letting anybody else tell you what you're worth. The bottom line is you're never going to find your worth in somebody else or their opinions. You find it within. You find it within yourself. And then you're going to attract into your circle, into your orbit, you're going to attract those who are of like energy. They're going to, you're going to find others who are worthy of that energy of yours. And also keep in mind that not taking things too personally, not overreacting, in other words, will keep your mind clear, and it'll keep you at peace on the inside. There's a lot of freedom in learning, that I can leave others' opinions to them.
Yeah. I love how you put that.
I can leave their opinions to them.
Yeah.
And that's like a weight that can be lifted off of us. And, we can really get there when we make a choice. When we make a choice not to take things personally. Maybe it's impossible to do it fully, totally, 100%, but we can shoot there. We can aim there.
That's right.
So, a life choice that we will regret is letting others tell us what we're worth. Because I don't care who you are listening right now, you have worth and value because you are. Period. End of the story.
Because you exist.
Because
That's right.
you exist. Because you are a child of God. Period. End of the story.
Yep.
And, you might say to me, but you don't understand how bad I've screwed up. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Because that's the thing with life. You disappointed in some things, start over right now.
Well, and the wonderful lady's name we had a couple months back, she was an anchor.
She was a news anchor. Yeah.
You can't start over. You
Yeah.
can start again.
Yeah, Nancy Reagan, I think you're talking about. Yeah.
No, she was local.
Oh, she was local.
Yeah, she was from around here.
Oh, geez. Who was that?
Mm-hmm.
Who did we have on? You're talking about she was on channel 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm blanking now. I'm
She's a
blanking.
queen. She was
Yeah,
wonderful, but
great-
that always
great
resonated
lady.
with me.
Yeah.
When she said that.
Yeah.
You can't start over, but you can start again.
But you can start again, and you can do that if you want to. You can do that right now.
That
right
is
now.
it. Yep.
I tell you what else you can do right now. You can go to ShreveportLittleTheater.com. You know, they've been around producing American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. They've been doing it for 101 years. They're working on 102
That's right.
years, and they're revving up. The summer musical is in the rear view mirror now, and they're looking forward to the 23-24 season. You need to go to ShreveportLittleTheater.com. Do a couple of things. Check out the incredible performances that are scheduled for the 23-24 season. Always Patsy Cline in September. My Way, a tribute to the music of Sinatra in October and November. Winter Wonderettes in December. That's going to be something special. 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress in January. Dial M for Murder is on stage in late February and March. And then Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville in April. That you get all of that and more with your season ticket, which is so reasonable, and you're supporting American theater at its best right here, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. We do it every day. We make choices. It's part of what life is about the choices and decisions we make. And we don't want to make choices that we're going to regret
Right.
in a decade from now. So we're talking about what are some of those that are potential, just so they're at the top of our, the top of our awareness.
Yeah.
Terry Simmons is who you were talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Channel 3, Terry Simmons.
Yes, the
And-
wonderful Miss Simmons.
Yeah, so she's the one that we credit for the you remember her words. Yeah,
They stuck with me.
yeah. There you go. There you go. I think she would forgive you and I for the not having the name at the top
I
of
hope
our
so.
awareness. She would just be impressed that you remembered her words, and she'd be happy about that too.
Yeah.
Another thing is, if we make the choice of being so busy impressing other people that we forget about our own priorities. So a decade from now, is it really going to matter what shoes you picked out to wear? For any, I don't care what the occasion, whether it's to the radio station, whether it's to church, whether it's to, the concert. Is it really going to matter what shoes you wore?
I just don't think so. I just don't think so.
Or how your hair looked. Now, you especially have a issue with that.
I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah. or what brand of clothes I can't, I don't have my fill in the blank of whatever brand is clean right now. I can't go.
Sure, right. Yeah.
What's going to matter to you is how you lived and how you loved and what you learned. So, we really do need to just kind of take impressing people for the sake of impressing people. And, just try to, we need to try to be as real as we can. If you want to, who you need to impress? If you really want to impress somebody, you know who you need to impress?
Who's that?
You. You need to really focus on impressing yourself. How do you do that? By making progress on something that you are sincerely proud of within yourself, that you're pursuing. I think about Jay, pursuing. Jay doesn't have to go to, do classes and pursue a graduate degree in counseling.
Sure.
But he's doing that for him.
Yeah, and I think that is a great example.
And it'll be wonderful. I mean, it's already. I mean, listen to the last couple of shows that he's been here, and you can, he's really picking up some stuff. But, that's the real deal. Be real with yourself. Impress yourself. Make progress on something that you're sincerely proud of. Focus on what matters. And it can be amazing what you can do, what you can accomplish when you aren't just incessantly worried about what everybody else in the world might be thinking and what they're doing. Just show yourself. Just show yourself that you can grow and that you can get better. I mean, that's why I say, to remind myself so often, if I live to be 105, and I hope I do, I want to be right to the end. And, going out, I want to remain and still be a curious student. Yeah. No matter what path is in front of me, I want to be a curious student. It's never about impressing or competing with anybody else, even though we spend an inordinate amount of time impressing others and competing with others. That's the ego. That's our ego mind. In the end, it's you. And in the end, there is no other. It's you versus you. It's just you. It's just us. So, don't be so busy. Let's check the busyness at impressing others, and that busyness keeps us from, really understanding what our priorities is. You're your priority.
Well said.
The person you need to impress is you. Uncertainty. Another thing that we will regret in a decade if we make the choice of letting uncertainty grind us to a halt, stop us. Life is about uncertainty.
What do you mean?
Well, if you want to embrace life, embrace uncertainty. Because think about it. What is the thing that we can depend on? What is the only thing that we can depend on in life? Uncertainty. So embrace it. Embrace uncertainty. Because some of the most incredible chapters in life, might not have a title that you feel comfortable with until much later. You know, living is risky. Just living life on planet Earth in 2023 is risky business.
I can't help but think about my second son, Sagan. We were not prepared or planning on having a second child.
Yeah.
And so there was, for a very brief time, immense uncertainty.
Yeah.
And
we didn't. This should. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And leaning into that, like we did, I feel like has and is rewarding us.
Absolutely. Every decision, Jimmie, every interaction, every step, every time you get out of bed in the morning and you take even you're taking even a small risk.
That's right.
Just getting out of bed.
Yep.
Especially as you get older. But maybe we're taking a little bigger risk with our age, right? But to truly live, you got to get up. You know?
You got to get up.
And that's taking the risk, and it's trusting yourself to take it. So, if you let uncertainty have the day, if you let uncertainty win, you're never going to know, anything for sure. And in a lot of ways, this unknowing is worse than finding out, okay, well, I made this choice and decision and I was wrong,
Well, as it relates to art, me and my wife, we talk about it a lot. To make art, you have to create art.
Yeah.
You have to paint, you have to make music, whatever it is that you do.
And you know what? I'm not, this isn't about you or your wife, but if you're creating, any artist knows some of it's crap.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it can't be great unless you're willing to do the crap.
You've got to wade through, because you need to, you can't really install that experience without finishing.
Yeah.
You gotta get out the other end, and you have to be able to stop and look back over it to soak that experience up.
We will be wrong sometimes, but when we're wrong, we can look back and we can use that as an opportunity to grow and to learn. It's like Lauren's the FAIL, right? Her first attempt in learning. So if I make fail equal my first attempt in learning, I can look back and it's constant. Okay, I got that. I got that lesson. I can remember that one now. Let me move on.
Yeah.
It's a continuing risk taking because uncertainty. If you want to embrace life, you're going to embrace uncertainty because, it comes with life. There's no, if you're a person who wants guarantees 24/7, well, you're in the wrong place. You're on Earth. I don't know where that guarantee 24/7, but it ain't here.
I think it was Morgan Wooten, who is a famous high school basketball coach, not to be confused with Coach Wooden.
Yeah,
it's a different coach.
Different coach. Okay.
He said, "You learn more from losing than winning. You learn how to keep going."
Yeah, there you go. In life, you can be comfortable, or you can be courageous. You probably can't be both. There's not a whole lot of time that you can be both. So you got to make choices here, and that's part of what life is. So letting uncertainty stop us is something that we might regret.
It is truly wasting time.
Yeah. FAIL, first attempt in learning, but that's a different way to look at failure than a lot of times the choice and decision we make when it comes to anything that we might consider, quote unquote, I'm air quoting now, failure. But the question is, where am I going to focus? Am I going to focus on that quote unquote failures instead of, okay, what are my opportunities now? What are the present opportunities? All of us have failed,
Absolutely.
quote unquote. All of us have experienced that. And all of us have, if we've lived long enough, we've experienced hurt too, right? All of that's in our past. But it's also true that you've loved and you've been loved. I mean, if you've lived long enough, you've failed and you've been hurt and you've loved and you've been loved.
Yeah.
In other words, you've risked and you've received. You've grown, not just older, but wiser. I mean, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
all of this carries a lot of weight. It's better to have a life full of, some wounds and some failures that you've learned from, rather than a lifetime full of regrets of, I wish I had done that. I wish I had tried that. I wish I'd experienced that. You're probably watching now for the second time a toddler learn to walk, or the beginnings of it, right?
Yeah, we're at scooching and we're right
You're
about to crawl.
Getting ready, but you learned it with Apollo, right?
Absolutely.
So what did you see? Stumbling, falling, lots of falling.
That's right.
Before getting it right, and that,
That's right.
The falls, all of those falls, you of course, and parents try to make them as painless as they can, but you can't take all of it away. They're learning opportunities, So just like in learning to walk, crawling and then walking, it takes pain and it takes patience to really make progress. So you don't want to let time pass you by like a hand waving out of a train passing by, and you want to be on that train, right?
Got to get on the train. Yeah.
So we don't want to spend our life thinking about why I didn't do what I could be doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the focusing on failure instead of present opportunity. What can I do now? That's something that if you do that, you're probably going to regret it in a decade or so. And we've already decided a decade ain't a whole lot of time.
It's not,
especially if you've lived a few years.
The more you've lived, the less it is.
There you go. It seems to pass a whole lot quicker now for me. Tell you that. Let's talk a little bit about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street. They are in downtown Shreveport. You hear us say it all the time because it's true. There's absolutely no place like the Robinson.
That's right.
And Shreveport, Bossier City, we are so blessed to have the Robinson Film Center here. Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor, full-service bistro and bar, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday. You can always go to robinsonfilmcenter.org, find out what's playing. Of course, Barbenheimer's there now.
In full swing.
You've got Barbie playing in one theater. You got Oppenheimer playing in the other theater. And I know they're packing folks in. Go to robinsonfilmcenter.org and, you can find out what's available ticket-wise. But you need to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member, get discounts on movies, get concession upgrades, get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmie, Bryant, David McMillian. I'll teach you a new word this evening.
I'm ready.
Yeah, supposed to.
Supposed to.
Supposed to. I'm not sure if it ends with an O or an A. Supposed to. Yeah. But we're talking about life choice, things that we choose that we will regret in a decade. We got to watch the supposed tos.
Right.
Yeah, the supposed tos are something you got to really watch those supposed tos. So we tend to, we have them, and it's okay to have supposed tos. Supposed tos are, it's part of the planning, right?
Sure.
How are things supposed to turn out? How are things supposed to unfold, right?
Yeah.
But how tight do we hold on to our supposed tos? Yeah. So holding on too tight to the supposed tos, the way things are supposed to be, can be something that we will regret in a decade. You can't lose something that you never had.
Ain't it the truth?
You can't keep what's not yours, and you can't hold on to something that doesn't want to stay. But you can drive yourself crazy by trying to lose what you never had, keep what's not yours, and hold on to something that doesn't want to stay. You can drive yourself batty. So what we all got to realize is that most things are only a part of our lives because of our thinking. We're thinking about them. So we can stop holding on to the things that really hurt us and make room for the things in our lives that feel right. So don't let what is out of our control interfere with all the things that we do have control over. So we want to say goodbye to what doesn't work out, and say hello to what has a potential.
I mean, and that's kind of a scientific approach.
Yeah. In life, goodbyes can be gifts.
Say that again.
In life, goodbyes can be gifts. When certain people walk away from you and certain opportunities close the doors and the windows, there's no need to hold on to them. Okay, the doors and the windows are closed, and we don't want to, we don't want to try to pry them open. We don't want to try to pray to keep them there. If they're closed, take that as an indication, a direct indication that those people or those circumstances or those opportunities are not part of the next chapter of now.
Right.
And so it's a hint that, to continue to grow requires something different and something more. And life is simply making that room. So watch the supposed tos. What am I telling myself? Well, it wasn't supposed to be this way, or it was supposed to be that way. Don't hold too tight onto the supposed tos.
Well, and supposed to, it feels like deflection. It feels like in a way that it's not taking accountability.
All right, say a little more about that.
Sorry, I have to get my
Get
my stuff together here.
Got to get your headphones on.
Well, in my experiences, I feel like people who take accountability and who are responsible don't say that word. It's not a part of their language because because they simply do what they can do. It's like
God
hustle
grant
and flow.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
And so they, people who have a firmer grasp, I think that they're able to tap into that, and the supposed
The supposed to. The supposed to. Yeah, the question mark is the ending an O or an A? Supposed to or supposed to? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm voting A.
Okay. Yeah, the A sounds good to me.
It's Louisiana. It's A.
Yeah, there you go. Talking about life choices that we may regret in a decade. I think this next one, if all of them are important that we've talked about so far, but I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 asterisks next to this one. Okay. And we all do it. Playing the victim. We all feel like the victim. Damn it, life just isn't fair, right?
Yeah.
We all do that. Here's the deal. Don't do it too long. Don't stay in that place of being the victim too long. I've talked about this. There really, truly are no such things as victims. Now, that doesn't mean bad things don't happen. Bad things can happen to all of us.
That's right.
But victimhood is I'm making a choice to stay in it.
In that space.
It might have happened 25 years ago, but dadgummit, you're going to hear about it now. I'm going to continue to talk about it today, Yeah.
And I mean, you know as well as anyone that it's hard for people.
It is, but we don't have to let the past define who we are in the present. So if we're always playing the victim card, you know what? We're going to feel like one.
And then we're just going to speak we'll just be that.
That's what we're creating. That's what we're bringing into existence in our life. So, we've all had times, right? That we've thought, I don't know that I can make it through this. We can all look back at times. We've all had that experience probably. I don't know that I can make it through this. And yet, we made it. You did.
That's right.
And you know what? We're going to do it again. There'll be, that because that's the uncertainty in life. That's what life delivers to us, right?
Yeah.
So, don't play the victim. Don't hang the victim shingle out. So don't hang with it too long. Don't let your challenges have the best of you. Don't let your insecurities bully you and push you into a corner. Ultimately, our growth, our healing depends on a willingness to, you said the word earlier, responsibility.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, our growth depends on our willingness to take responsibility for our own life from right now, this moment, going forward. And it doesn't matter who had a hand in making it this way and the way that it is right now.
And your wordplay, over the last couple of years has kind of rubbed off on me a little. And I fielded one with you recently with responsibility, response-ability.
Yeah.
Responsibilities.
The ability to respond. Exactly. So it's about taking control. It's about taking control of whatever you find in front of you now, the present circumstances.
Yeah.
And thinking, okay, what are my potential choices now?
Mm-hmm.
And then making a firm choice and maybe letting going over, okay, well, these are the choices I made in the past.
Yeah.
This road didn't work out so bad. This road didn't work out too well. Maybe I need to choose this. Yeah. None of us are responsible for everything that happens to us in our life, but we are responsible for undoing any self-defeating thoughts and thought process or thought patterns that are going on, because these create outcomes that we probably won't like so much later.
Well,
so we can grow beyond that.
You've touched on a similar kind of energy, those words before. It's not your fault,
but it's your responsibility.
But it is your responsibility.
Absolutely. There you go. So we're talking about today some choices that a decade from now, and that ain't too long. You know, it's supposed to be longer. There's another it's supposed to feel a lot longer than it feels these days. But these are life choices that we might regret in a decade or so. We'll be back. More strategies for living to come. Stay with us. Some life choices that we can make that we might regret them in a decade or so. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmie, Bryant, David, McMillian. Have I got time for one more?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Overanalyzing.
Okay.
Waiting and over. I gotta analyze this some more. I gotta overanalyze, and I analyze so much. I keep orbiting. I don't take action. A lot of times we waste our time waiting for the ideal path to appear.
When this happens, when if, yeah.
But it doesn't come. Someday, like Creedence Clearwater says, someday never comes. And we forget that paths are made by walking, not waiting. So whenever you find yourself at a point of intense decision making where you're caught in a cycle and you're overanalyzing, and so then that's stopping you. That's making you hesitate, and you're not making progress. Break the cycle. Take a deep breath, back up, break the cycle. Allow yourself to make an educated guess. What do I think might be the next logical step? And then go for it. Take it. Even if you're wrong, you will be moving. And, again, no such thing as failure, right? First attempt in learning.
Yep.
We can keep moving forward. So life choices that if we make these choices, some of these choices we're talking about, we might have a lot of regrets in a decade. So watch those supposed-tos.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will text us and tell us how to spell supposed to. In the meantime, folks, thank you. Thank you for being a part of Strategies for a Living. Thank you for listening. You're the reason we do this, and
That's right.
we couldn't do it without you. And I tell you who else we couldn't do it without. We couldn't do it without our wonderful sponsors. And so anytime you can, let them know how much you appreciate them bringing Strategies for a Living to you. Who are they? Well, they're the Robinson Film Center. They're Azalea Cleaners. They're Pintail Roofing. Roof. They're Learning RX. They're Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport. And they're the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Jimmie Bryant, I'm David McMillian. See you next time on Strategies for Living.
Help me